The announcement came cold and sharp. "There's no room up here." A black woman, dressed in an elegant suit, stood frozen as the pilot blocked her path to the first-class cabin. Passengers turned, eyes narrowing with judgment. They didn't know who she was. They didn't realize that the woman being told to step aside wasn't just another traveler. She was the future of this very airline. In that moment, humiliation hung heavy, but fate was about to shift. What happens when prejudice underestimates power? Watch until the end to find out. Wait a second. Tell us where you're watching from in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for more powerful stories like this. Amara Johnson was not new to challenges. Born and raised in Atlanta, she carried the grit of a self-made woman. After years of hard work, she became the CEO of a prominent investment firm, her reputation built on vision and resilience. On this day, she boarded a routine flight, just another business trip, wearing confidence as naturally as she wore her tailored suit. To most, she looked like any other executive, but Amara knew the weight of being judged twice, once for her gender and again for her skin. She had flown countless times before, yet this time was different. As she walked toward her seat in first class, whispers followed her, some curious, others skeptical. It was subtle but familiar. Prejudice never knocked loudly. It crept in silently, hidden behind polite smiles and dismissive glances. Amara adjusted her bag and kept walking, unaware that this flight would test her patience more than she had expected. The cabin door had barely closed when the pilot, a tall man with a stern jaw, stepped into the aisle. His eyes swept over Amara before settling coldly. "Ma'am, first class is full," he declared. However, her boarding pass clearly stated otherwise. Passengers shifted uncomfortably, some avoiding eye contact, while others watched with silent anticipation. Amara held out her ticket, calm but firm. "This is my seat." The pilot didn't look at the paper. Instead, he glanced at the row where empty seats gleamed like an accusation. His voice tightened. "Ma'am, I think you're in the wrong section." The words landed like a slap. It wasn't about the seat, it was about her. She had lived this before, in boardrooms where her competence was questioned, in restaurants where service was delayed. But here, at 30,000 feet, she was stripped of choice. Every second stretched, every stare drilled into her skin. A flight attendant hesitated, clutching the drink tray, as if torn between protocol and conscience. A man in a suit cleared his throat but said nothing. Silence weighed heavier than the pilot's words. Amara felt the burn of injustice, not just for herself, but for every untold story of dismissal. She could have walked back to the coach, swallowed her pride, and let the moment pass. But something in her refused. She stayed seated, her pulse steady, her chin lifted. What none of them knew was that Amara wasn't just a passenger. She was days away from finalizing a deal that would put her name above theirs. Minutes later, turbulence shook the plane, but inside the cabin, the real storm had already broken. A flight attendant hurried down the aisle, whispering urgently in the pilot's ear. His face drained of color. He glanced at Amara, his confidence unraveling. Word had spread. An article had gone live, announcing Amara Johnson as the new majority shareholder of the very airline they were flying. Phones buzzed with notifications. Passengers gasped, connecting the dots. The woman he had tried to humiliate was no ordinary traveler. She was now his boss. The cabin filled with a charged silence, heavy with realization. The pilot's authority crumbled in real time, and Amara's presence became undeniable. In that instant, the scales tipped, not just for her, but for every unspoken injustice hidden in plain sight. Resolution and impact, 130 words. When the plane landed, Amara walked out not as a victim, but as the owner of a new chapter. The pilot avoided her gaze, his earlier dismissal now a mirror reflecting his own smallness. Passengers whispered her name with awe, realizing they had witnessed a moment larger than a seat dispute. For Amara, it was never about revenge. It was about truth. Racism often tries to confine, to shrink people into invisibility. But that day, prejudice was confronted by undeniable power. Her story reminds us that silence in the face of injustice is a form of complicity. How many more stories like this will it take before equality is more than a seat assignment? Tell me, where are you watching from? Take care.